webcast, please. Good evening, members. Welcome to Council meeting through Zoom. I will start with a webcast introduction. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet or filmed and will be capable of repeated viewing or another use by such third parties. Thereby, by participating in this virtual meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting or training purposes. If members of the public do not wish to have their image captured, they should ensure that their video setting throughout the virtual meeting is turned off and set to audio only. Please also be aware that if technical difficulties interrupt the meeting that cannot be overcome, I may need to adjourn the meeting. Item 2. It is with great sadness I announce the passing of former councillor and chairman Tony Boyce. Please sit silent for a minute in tribute of his memory. Thank you, members. Before I invite members to speak about Tony, I would like to thank everyone, past chairmen and local councillors, for joining me at the civic offices, where we had all the opportunity to say goodbye to Tony, as the hearse made a short stop before continuing to Morton Village Church. I was privileged to be present at his funeral, and I must tell you, it was such a warm and lovely service. You know that he was amongst family and friends who loved him very much. Everyone who spoke with a lot of respect, but also referred to a lot of funny anecdotes from his life, as he was such a character who did it his way. And now I will ask the leader first, following the leaders of its party and anyone else who indicated to pay tribute to Tony Boyce. Councillor Whitbread, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, and thank you for your opening comments. Tony was certainly a larger-than-life character, high octane, full of energy, and once met, never forgotten. I knew Tony from when I first interviewed him to be a candidate to stand for district and to his service for Firefield, where he was a first-class councillor during his period of time of office. And who can forget the things that Tony did in his year as chairman, whether it be selling yellow T-shirts for the Tour de France, some of which are still going around Epping even today, the wonderful day that he organised the trip on the Silver Sturgeon down the River Thames, or if I can go to a more personal memory, to when he was not at his best and he was poorly, and Brian Rolfe and myself, went to see Tony in hospital in London. But again, he was full of life and a desire to get back. And I think his return to the district council for a short while showed that, and showed the full power of the man and why we all respect him so much. If we were having a glass of wine this evening after full council, I'm sure Brian and myself would be sharing our stories of that day up in London, which even now brings a smile to me whenever I think about it. his comeback was terrific. For after he was so poorly, to come back and still serve the people of Fifield is just a testament to Tony. He will be sadly missed. I know how much his friends and family loved him and how much we respected him as a councillor. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Caroline Pond.
Sorry to hear about Tony. The phrase that occurs to me about Tony is that he was the life and soul of any party. He was very enthusiastic about being chairman. He seems to raise a large amount of money for charities. And he was always promoting the district. For instance, as his civic lunch, which for the chain gang, he had it on the Ongar and North Wirral Railway. New at the time, but I hope someone does that. Another chairman does that. But what I always remember is involved with the Tour de France. He wanted to make sure all the promotions were correct. And I think he encouraged a lot of people who perhaps wouldn't have gone to watch it, but who did in the end. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor John Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I too was sorry to hear the news. I mean, Tony made a substantial contribution to the council during the time he was with us. I mean, I think I always remember him as an enthusiast. He was someone who always seemed to have a project on the go, was out there promoting it and selling its merits and trying to get things done around it. You know, he was full of character and full of desire to push forward his particular issues and projects, and thoughts with his family and friends tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Neville.
Thank you, Chairman. My memories of Tony Boyce are that he was the first chairman in my time as a councillor. And I remember him being very much a gentleman, very warm towards me as a newbie, and very welcoming. I also remember, as has been spoken before, of his enthusiasm, and he had bags of it to go around, and I do mean bags of it, and his sense of humour. I mean, he was always cracking a joke. He brought that sense of enthusiasm and humour to his time as chairman. I think that was very, very special. And I could never forget that as he came to the end of his time as chairman, he was playing Frank Sinatra's My Way, and he certainly did it his way.
Thank you. Councillor Mary Sarting.
Thank you, Chairman. Tony, I'm sure many of you will remember, was my vice chairman when I served as chairman of Epping Forest District Council in 2013-14. And my husband, John, and I got to know him and his wife, Jan, quite well during that year. He was always there to support me if required, was happy to do whatever was needed. But most of all, I remember his great sense of humour. Always a joke, a quip, a story, and always with a twinkle in his eye. Our weekly chairman's briefings nearly always descended into chaos and laughter. Jan telling him to behave, John and him making disparaging remarks about each other's football teams, and poor Pat Seeger trying to keep us all on course. To be in his company was always a pleasure. To use what is now an outdated word, Tony was a gentleman, and I know he will be sadly missed not only by his family but also by his many friends and colleagues. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Brian Rolfe.
Sorry, Chairman. On first meeting Tony nearly 14 years ago, I, like so many others, was immediately impressed by his seemingly larger-than-life personality. He was what I would describe as a typical East End boy. There was always a solution to any problem, and if the first one didn't work, there was always another. He was definitely a man whose glass was half full, never half empty. Tony was also a good worker, for good causes and showing appreciation, something he had learned from his East End connections and business life. On one of my early visits to see him in hospital, only a couple of weeks after his stroke, he was busy giving a list of instructions to his wife Jan on gifts he wanted her to purchase for seemingly half the medical staff in Barts. That was also the day when, with the help of 5 nurses and physios, Tony walked for the first time. Typically, he wanted to carry on and made a great noise when they told him to stop. When talking of Tony, we must also remember his wife Jan, because they were a team and inseparable. They first met at secondary school, where Tony asked for a date. According to Sam, their daughter, Jan thought he was too flash and reminded him of this many times during their later married life. But Tony must have improved, because she accepted him and they had a long, happy marriage. But sadly, Jan died a year ago, and one cannot help but wonder whether Tony finally gave up. I speak not only for myself, but for many others when I say, thanks, mate, for your friendship and wise counsel. You are sorely missed.
Thank you. Councillor Richard Morgan.
Thank you, Chairman. It's with great pleasure that I say a few words about Tony. Most of you knew him as a district councillor. I knew him many years before that. He's a great community worker in his local community, and he did so much for local charities throughout his life. When he first came here, it was the day before we went to Plans East meeting, and Tony said, I'm going to creep off early, he said, because I want to go to football. And that was the day when he had his stroke or heart attack on the train. We used to, Brian, Rolf and I used to go and see him at home now and again, and he is so still full of life, but he had a job to communicate with us. But it was very sad to see him sitting there. When he first got elected to the council, he used to phone me up and ask me advice on different things to do with planning or anything else in the community, and I was really honoured that he would look at me as not as a father figure, but as a mentor to his first few years on the council. He was really missed. He was one of the best district councillors we had as chairman of the district council. He raised so much money, and it would be it is a great pleasure that I'll say a few words to him, and hope our family I still see some of the family now, and they will always remember him in the future. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, members. Right, we continue. Item 3, minutes. Members, can we take the minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of July as a correct record and approve them?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 4, are there any declarations of interest? Okay. Item 5A, apologies for absence. Jackie, do we have apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Bedford, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Chambers, Councillor Judy Jennings, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Mahindra, Councillor Chris Roberts and Councillor Deborah Roberts.
Chairman, if I may. I've just heard from Councillor Stocker. He sends apologies for lateness. I'm just sending him details of the meeting now.
Thank you. Chairman's announcements. Members, Remembrance Sunday will be commemorated very different this year. Although we tend to lay wreaths to all memorials we usually do across the district, because of social distancing and COVID-19, there will be no advertising of events and the members who very kindly volunteered to lay wreaths in their wards. They will do it in their own time. I would like to thank all these members, but also urge them to be very careful and avoid social gathering. I decided this year to attend on my own, laying wreaths from Remembrance Sunday to Armistice Day, Wednesday, the 11th of November. Please note that this year the civic offices will be lit with a red light. So every time you pass by in the afternoon, as it grows darker every day, you will see. I wanted poppies, but we couldn't have that. So it will be lit red. Item 6. Jackie, do we have any public questions, please?
No, Chairman, no public questions.
Thank you. Item 7. Again, Jackie, do we have any questions by members under notice?
No, Chairman, no questions under notice.
Okay. Item 8. Reports from leader and members of the cabinet. Can I have the leader first, Councillor Whitbread, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, it's been a busy few months since we last met in the height for summer. First of all, I'd like to thank my cabinet colleagues who have been busy, along with officers, over the recent months. Whilst we've been going through very difficult and busy times, my colleagues have set out a positive agenda on a whole range of issues, despite the ongoing COVID pandemic. Members will have seen this week the presentation on the 5 sites in Epping and the ambitious plan to go ahead with building a new sports centre, again, in spite of the current situation with COVID that makes things so unpredictable. The ongoing council house building programme, and of course supporting our high streets by maintaining the 2.5 hour 20p band until Christmas. And of course, the number of COVID projects that were brought forward to Cabinet at the last meeting. But of course, whilst when we last met, we were all looking forward to the summer, and of course, the reduction in some of the restrictions we were facing, the cloud of COVID didn't really go very far away, and we're now in the start of the second wave. I say the start. As members will be aware, the numbers are rising, and a couple of weeks ago now, we took the decision, along with all the district and borough councils across Essex and the county council, on the advice of public health. We asked the Secretary of State to consider Essex and Epping Forest included in that, to move to Tier 2 earlier rather than later. When we look at the figures for this week, the point is proven. We are now in Epping Forest, and we've been high for a while, one of the highest in Essex. We're now over 100 per 100,000, for 100 cases for every 100,000. So we are rising still quite quickly as it goes. And of course, the national news at the moment shows similar. So it was the right decision to move in to Tier 2. Conspiracy theorists would be saying that we did it just for some additional funding from government. After we had decided and requested to move to Tier 2, indeed after the Secretary of State had given us permission, a good few days afterwards, it was announced that government would be giving some additional funding of £3 per person across Essex, comes to a total of 4.4 million. And of course, that is for welfare and for support of businesses. And the County Council, working in conjunction with the districts, is currently working out a package, and there'll be another roundtable meeting with businesses tomorrow. Our own Chief Executive and myself have both been engaged in this process, so we will have some more news on that. Unfortunately, not for this full council, and I'm sure members will be pleased to hear that the County Council also have already put additional funding into food banks and to some holiday food schemes where food for the vulnerable will be given out. So the county, in conjunction with districts, is already moving on those issues. We have a long road ahead of us. I'm pleased that all districts, boroughs and the city supported the county council on moving and asking to go to tier 2. It will be difficult. My thoughts are with our residents and the disruption it causes to them, and to our businesses and the disruption it causes to them. But we must get this done, and we must move forward, and we must encourage everyone to stick to the rules when it comes to wearing face masks, giving space, and making sure they wash their hands on a regular basis. It won't be an easy winter, but together we will get through it, and hopefully we will be looking forward to those times when there's less restrictions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I have an indication of 2 further portfolio holders would like to add to the report. May I ask Councillor John Philly, please?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to let members of council know who haven't seen the press releases that our digital innovation zone has beaten off competition to come top in the country in the cross-sector digital collaboration of the year category. We've been voted into 3rd place, and in the judging, we actually came first. Our own Councillor Alan Lyon is actually chair of the days, and a lot of the work is done on the days by our officers. This is a very positive story for Epping Forest, and I'd like to extend my congratulations to everyone involved, and it's really nice to be in the lead, #1 in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a huge amount to add to my report, but just a bit of a good news story. Today, myself and the leader met with officers about the Youth Council and the exciting project they put forward at the last Cabinet meeting last week. Really happy to be able to support them, bring that forward and deliver it. The project they're bringing forward is to do with mental health and COVID-19. So the project's called My Life COVID-19. My Life C19, that's my with an MI. And this exciting project is first of all going to go very soon onto a rejuvenated My Life website. Obviously, we know how well recognised the My Life project was throughout Epping Forest District and actually throughout the county and indeed the whole country previously. So it's really good to see this scheme extended and also applied to the current conditions that we're living in. We know that young people have been disproportionately affected by COVID in many ways, obviously with concerns about future employment, etc. As well as this online programme, we'll also be looking at rolling it out further into schools across Epping Forest District. But the good thing is with the online, we can get that moving quickly and for all young people to use in our district. So just a bit of a good news story to update you all on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We usually do not take any members in this particular item of the agenda. So I have some notification, but I will ask these members to speak later, please. Item 9, questions by members without notice. I would like to thank members for responding to the officer's email. It helps me having an early indication of the members who would like to ask questions. And although we have again a long list, I anticipate to give everyone an opportunity to be heard. Please note, I will only allow 1 question, so please make sure you're precise and short, and I will expect the cabinet members to be the same. So it is 7:25. We're allowed 20 minutes and see how we go. Can we start? Councillor Les Barrows, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's good to see a sports hall and the squash courts have been included in the plan for a new sports centre alongside a swimming pool. Would the portfolio holder for environmental contract services like to confirm that the provision of our new sports hall in Epping is still viable in a post-COVID world? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. As you know, this council is committed to providing leisure and sporting facilities to our residents. The recent result of the consultation with residents by Qualis and the reaction to that means the proposed leisure centre in Epping will include a sports hall and squash courts, in addition to the swimming pool. We are listening to what residents have said they would like in the proposed leisure centre. COVID or not, this council is committed to building this facility. And given the likely aftermath of the pandemic, leisure facilities will be ever more important for residents' health and well-being. In this context, I would note my report, in particular the efforts being made with our partner Places Leisure to keep our leisure centres open and working safely, and also the refurbishment work being undertaken at Ongar Leisure Centre, which will hopefully be finished just after Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Neville.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a busy night already for Councillor Avey because my question is directed to him as well. About a week ago or more, I contacted you about a hotspot for fly tipping in my ward. I can't think of the number of times over the years I've been called to deal with a fly tipping in the Hornbeam Close area of my ward, and instead of the council constantly clearing it up, it's about time we've tried and find the culprits for this. Will he come and maybe do a socially distant visit to the area and see what can be potentially done in a proactive way?
Thank you for that question. I certainly would be happy to come and visit the area to have a look. And also working with my cabinet colleagues. I think Councillor Holly Whitbread is more on the enforcement side than me, but obviously I deal with the BIFA side, which is when we go to pick up the tips. I certainly would hope we can come up with some solutions for Hornbeam Close.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Hadley. Councillor Ian Hadley? No?
Sorry, I'm muted. Can you hear me? Okay, my question is portfolio holder for commercial and regulated services, Councillor Patel. The second phase of the Qualis consultation is starting soon. How is the consultation being handled this time with the current COVID-19 situation?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Hadley. The consultation is actually beginning on Monday, and we're going to have 5 days of virtual online sessions, which give people the chance to see how Qualis Commercial have listened to their comments and feed them into the revised proposal for the 5 sites in Epping Town Centre. Residents can book a place on one of the virtual online events taking place by visiting the Working Together for Epping.commonplace.is website. The virtual online event takes place on, as I said, from Monday right through the week, and at various different times during that week. I have the times available now. If Chairman, I can just quickly mention them. On Monday, the 2nd of November, the session is going to be held from 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock. On Tuesday the 3rd, it's going to be held from 2:30 to 4:30. On Thursday the 5th, it's going to be held from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. On Friday the 6th of November, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Saturday 7th of November from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The pre-recorded presentation will also be available for residents who can't log on to live to view at any time from next Monday on the consultation platform, which I've already mentioned, where there will also be the facility to leave comments. Feedback channels for residents to comment will remain open until Friday the 13th of November. I do urge all residents to visit the online consultation. I think members and cabinet members and wider members who had the briefing on the Epping sites this week will all agree that the comments and feedbacks from members and also from residents have been taken on board. And I'm very excited to hear further comments from residents in the second phase of the consultation. I think it's fair to say that one of the members from Puttock Brown, Anne-Marie, should be credited for the amount of responses that we got back from the first round of the consultation, because without residents' feedback, we can't. We need this to channel the design and detail of what we're looking to bring forward. And she was directly responsible for for bringing forward the virtual platform that we used last time round. So I hope that answers your question, Councillor Hadley.
Thank you. Councillor John Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's a question to Councillor Avey, if I may, and it relates to the new sports centre. Clearly, as things stand, the contract that the council has with Places Leisure is still based on when it was expected the Place and Sports Centre would be in North Weald, and so it needs renegotiating places for people. And I know that's been on the Cabinet's forward plan. And clearly also, the current situation with COVID has led to negotiations with Places Leisure. I just wonder if we have an update on the sort of timetable for those negotiations and when a decision on the future management of the replacement sports centre will be taken. And similarly, presumably there'll need to be some sort of undertaking given by the council to Qualis that the council will sort of take on the sports centre once it's been built. And again, if we could have a sort of timetable and some indication of the process for that, that'd be helpful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that question. I certainly will update the council when we have that timetabled. I haven't got it yet, but I will provide that when it's available.
Sorry, Chairman, do I take it from that the discussions haven't already started?
I don't think it's discussions are underway, as you'd imagine. There always are behind the scenes, but I don't think I'm in a position yet to put anything into the public domain.
Okay. Councillor David Stoker.
Thank you, Chairman. This council has an excellent record on delivering affordable housing for the local people. And will the portfolio holder confirm that this council is dedicated to continue on the council's housing building programme?
Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Councillor Stocker for that question. I'm always really happy to talk about our council house building programme, which we've got a proud record of in Epping Forest, and we continue to work on it. In a recent cabinet meeting just last week, I announced that we're beginning phase 5, where we'd be looking at a more kind of community-led approach, which is particularly important, I think, in the light of COVID, looking at the importance of our spaces and the spaces that we look after as a district on our estates. So by the time we've completed that phase, we'll be on about 500 new homes for local people, which is a real achievement, and we're really going against the grain of what a lot of other councils are doing. So very proud and very pleased to say that we're committed to continuing this good work. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is either to the Commercial and Regulatory Services portfolio holder Councillor Patel or to the Leader of Council, whoever thinks they need to answer it. And it's with reference to something that was said at Cabinet. Councillor Patel was asked at Cabinet, was there any limits to the services that could be transferred to Qualis? And his precise answer, which I looked at the webcast this morning, was, I don't believe there is a limit. So given that, Chairman, my question is, does the leader or the portfolio holder realise that for many of us, we would see that as a way of transferring services from the council to the private sector? And does he also realise that that sent a message to all our staff that are currently working in any service within Epping Forest District Council that they might find their future employers to be Qualis? Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, I'm happy to take that question, please. Only those services which can demonstrate commercial advantage in Qualis over being in the FDC will be considered. I said at Cabinet there is no limit, but what I meant is that we will consider all services to understand whether a compelling case can be made for them to be delivered via Qualis. For each service which warrants further consideration, there would need to be a full business case that considered cost, quality, and staff. Nothing will be transferred without full consideration, scrutiny, and council being satisfied that transfer represents the best option. We mustn't forget why we have Qualis. We need Qualis to provide revenue for the council, and in so doing protect our frontline services. We absolutely need Qualis to be a success. As with the housing maintenance, which was transferred over in September, a full business case came forward to council, to Cabinet and to council, and the decision was made to transfer that service over. And even within a month, we've seen that the lead time on housing repairs have been reduced, and also the productivity, and so productivity and efficiency has increased. Sure, Councillor Murray, you'd be happy. The priority of the council is surely to keep council tax as low as possible, and also protect our frontline services. And so, as mentioned already, it's important that all services are considered. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Continue. Members, those who actually responded to the email or the officer's email, no need to actually have the hands up. I have you in the list. Thank you. Councillor Chris Pond, please.
Madam Chairman, I think this is a question for Councillor Holly Whitbread. Would the portfolio holder agree with me that much good work has been done locally in the relief of food poverty? And the council has, I believe, entered into an arrangement with the Epping Forest Food Bank, who have, of course, done a lot of work. However, I believe good work is also being done by the Rotary Club through their organisation, Free Food for You, which operates in Waltham Abbey and Loughton. Would the portfolio holder agree that she should facilitate Rotary's activities because they're all toilers at the same pump and to the same agreed parity of esteem with the Epping Forest Food Bank?
Thank you.
Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Pond, for that question. It's a really interesting question, actually, and I am aware of the good work that's been done by Free Food for You throughout the pandemic, obviously starting off as support for those in isolation during COVID and then grown into a more wider food bank facility actually across Epping Forest District. I'm already in discussions with the person who runs Free Food for You, Pesh, and the conversations we have stipulated that if Epping Forest is to kind of create a further relationship, there will need to be some kind of signposting for those who attend. At present, there isn't the support that perhaps is given at the food bank. And personally, I did have a little bit of concern about that, particularly in terms of referrals for the most vulnerable people. So absolutely, I think that they're doing a really good job. But I do think if we enter into a more formal relationship as a council, we do need to make sure them boxes are ticked, because if people need the services that we offer, that we need to be aware of that also. So yes, conversations are ongoing. Good news in relation to the food bank, we have actually almost signed off a service level agreement following on from kind of discussions which got slightly waylaid due to COVID, but they also continue to do excellent work supporting vulnerable residents across the district. So thank you for that question, and conversations continue. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Heather Brady.
Thank you. I think my question is for Councillor Avey again. And again, it's about fly tipping, which my ward seems to suffer quite a lot with, similar to Stephen Neville's, obviously. So could I just ask Mr. Avey what the council and its partner are doing to tackle all this type, like fly tipping, please?
Thank you for that question. Probably not all for me. As I say, I deal with the aftermath of fly tipping, which is making sure BIFA and officers, we can clean up the mess which we have reported to us. But I do know that obviously enforcement is underway against individuals, organisations when we can. And I think it's very important that a message is sent to fly tippers that if we catch them, they will be dealt with. You know, it's an ongoing battle at the moment. I don't think it's going to get any better. You only have to look around at the number of builders working in the local area to see that there's a lot of waste being created. It has to go somewhere, and unfortunately it's going into our rural areas and being dumped. We shall continue to be vigilant and try to stop it, and also to clean it up. And I think I should say at this point, I think officers and BIFA have done an excellent, or do an excellent job of dealing with some of the fly tips we get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would Councillor Whitbread would like to add anything on the enforcement side?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and thanks for letting me come in. And we're well aware of the issues with fly tipping across the district, which continues to be an issue. And I know particularly in rural wards like Councillor Brady's, it is a particular issue. Actually, I did sign a portfolio holder decision the other day in relation to fixed penalty notices. And what I decided to do, and what we decided to do as a team, was increase our fixed penalty notices for those who are committing fly tipping. And we're looking at increasing enforcement, so those who do fly tip can't get away with it. Also, we've introduced a fixed term penalty notice for breach of household waste duty of care. So hopefully that actually might help with Councillor Neville's question from earlier. So it's something that we're working on. We work in close partnership with Essex Police on this issue as well. And I know they've been doing a serious enforcement throughout the summer. So we are working on it. We're continuing to focus on enforcement to discourage people from doing it and showing them they can't get away with it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Siri Rackman.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask the portfolio holder what action is being taken to help keep the community safe over Halloween and the upcoming fireworks nights that we will all experience. And what would be your advice to a younger person who wishes to enjoy and celebrate these events, please? Thank you.
Councillor Whitbread, Holly Whitbread.
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I think Halloween and fireworks night will be very different this year, and unfortunately we won't be able to celebrate it in the way that we usually do. First of all, in relation to community safety, so I know that we have had issues in the past, particularly with antisocial behaviour at both Halloween and fireworks night. So we've taken the precautionary measure of increasing our park guard patrols throughout the district during this period to make sure that residents who are out and about feel safe, and also ensure that people are following strictly COVID guidance and that's making sure that you're in no more than groups of 6 when outside, and obviously only in your family or bubble when inside. In relation to my advice for young people, I think my days of celebrating Halloween properly are a little bit past, but I would say please be more cautious than ever before this year. Stay at home, be creative, carve pumpkins. It's perhaps not as fun as we'd like it to be, but if we follow by that vital government guidance this year, stay at home with your family bubbles rather than going out and trick-or-treating. Hopefully this time next year we would have defeated this awful virus and be able to enjoy Halloween and fireworks in the usual or more usual way. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Simon Heap.
Thank you. Yes, this is not a quick question, I'm afraid to say. It really isn't a quick question, and it delves into corporate governance and many things. So when the decision to use Careline was taken, was the portfolio or the cabinet aware that Careline Home Care is owned by City and County Healthcare Limited, which is owned by City and County Healthcare Holdings Limited, which is owned by C&C Bidco Limited, which is owned by C&C Holdings Limited, which is owned by C&C Midco Limited, which is owned by C&C Topco Limited, which is owned by Graphite Capital Central Partners 7, Guernsey in brackets LLP, and then Graphite Capital. So each one of these stages represents a chance to add debt and extract value, which is not the proper way for corporate governance, really, if we want to have a capitalism that is worthy of its name. And I want to flag this up because if nobody was aware, okay, I understand that because there's a lot of detail to go through. Ultimately, in 2015, C&C Topco Limited paid £88,000 in tax on profits of £30 million, which is ridiculous. And so the point of bringing this up is that when Qualis goes forward, we must have a stakeholder view of the company rather than a shareholder view of the company. So does the leader think that this is a good approach? Does the leader think that that's the best approach to paying tax?
Councillor Whitbread, Chris Whitbread, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, as Councillor Heap said, good question, very complex, very in-depth. Can't say I know the ins and outs of every single tender that the council has, but of course it would have done due diligence on those tenders. People of different companies' tax structures, I won't comment on that on this meeting this evening. With regards to Qualis, I think we've been as open and transparent as we can with Qualis. I think those members who are still anti the idea of Qualis have to ask themselves whether they want a low council tax authority and whether they want to continue protecting frontline services. Because without Qualis and without ideas coming forward, which none of the opposition ever do, we will not have a low council tax authority and protect those frontline services our residents care about. Thank you.
I usually say one question. Councillor Heap, do you have a different question or?
I don't have a different question. Yes, we all want Qualis to succeed, but we want to do it in the best terms possible, which means stakeholder, not shareholder. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brian Roth.
Thank you, Chairman. Can the housing portfolio holder comment on what action the council has taken to stop homeless people returning to the streets post the initial lockdown?
Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Councillor Roll for that question, which I think is an important one. I think we've all been aware of the challenges with homelessness throughout lockdown and during this COVID era. As a council, we were very proactive from the very beginning of the COVID lockdown. So the first step we took, even actually before the official lockdown was announced, was making sure that all of the vulnerable people and rough sleepers on the street were taken off the street and placed in appropriate accommodation so they were able to shield from the virus. We actually we found accommodation for 15 people, which is actually a lot higher than the usual number of rough sleepers across Epping Forest district. This is for various reasons. There were changes in the way that people perhaps no longer could sofa surf due to the COVID regulations. So there were an increase in people. Really good news a few weeks ago, we were successful in receiving funding from the government along with a consortium of 5 other Essex councils. And what we've done with that funding is invested in more permanent accommodation for those rough sleepers that we did home during the COVID pandemic. That more permanent accommodation is now established for people to move into and have that more permanent base so they can start their life afresh. And they've obviously got the support from Chess and our partners to make sure that they can move forward in the most positive way and continue to isolate and be safe at this difficult time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to Councillor Holly Whitbread, Portfolio Holder for Housing and Community Services. Last week, I was shown a letter by a resident at one of our sheltered housing complexes, and I was concerned to discover that the communal areas have been closed since March. I understand why they have to be closed at the moment, but why weren't they opened when the restrictions were eased in the summer? The residents could have been helped to organise in bubbles of 6 and be given a time slot to meet in the communal areas. And I would like to know whether you'll commit to reopening the communal areas as soon as possible when these Tier 2 restrictions are eased, either using my suggestion or some other one. Thank you.
Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Councillor Whitehouse for that question, because it is actually a very important question. Obviously, in the Tier 2 restrictions, it wouldn't be possible to open up the communal spaces. However, I know that the housing team were looking closely to opening those communal areas, but also being able to facilitate social distance and obviously safe COVID secure environment. But what I will do is I'll have a conversation with the housing team and make sure we can do our very best to open up them communal spaces once restrictions have eased. I do think it's important that them communal spaces are open as soon as possible for, to ensure that the older people in the sheltered accommodation aren't lonely, which is obviously a key issue at this time. But something I would like to bring up is during the COVID period, our officers have been calling round our tenants within our sheltered accommodation to provide that support and listen to any concerns they may have, perhaps not quite the same as being able to sit down for a cup of tea with one of your neighbours in the communal area, but hopefully fill in the gap in some way in terms of loneliness and ensuring that the residents in that accommodation have the support they need. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Whitehouse, for that question.
Thank you. Councillor Darshan Sangha, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very pleased to note that our council have been supporting local businesses through the pandemic, especially with the distribution of the business grants. And I'm pleased to also note that we're one of the fastest councils to in Essex Council to be distributing these grants out to the local businesses. This much needed support really has been really a lifeline for local businesses, especially the fact that they've been supporting local jobs as well. And I also welcome the fact that we've also gone the extra mile by providing reduced parking charges as well. Can the Cabinet member confirm that the usual free parking in our high streets will be available during the December month, please? Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for that question. I'm glad that the reduced parking tariff continues, and we've decided to continue that at the moment because of the ongoing pandemic. And hopefully I will be signing off the usual free Christmas parking arrangements we have every year to hopefully have something of a festive season. Thank you.
Councillor David Plummer.
Cool. Thank you, Chairman. This sort of cuts across commercial and regulatory and housing and community, but so I'm not sure who should actually take it. But given that there were 1,218 applicants on a district council's housing register at the end of September this year, plus 182 applicants on a supplementary waiting list for sheltered housing, and that a substantial amount of housing benefit paid by taxpayers goes to private landlords, and that council housing and its rental income can be taken out of our housing stock by a right to buy, will the district council via Qualis commit to increasing the amount of housing benefit returned to the council, increasing other rental income paid to the council, and increasing the amount of homes available for applicants on a housing waiting list, and ensuring those homes remain within public ownership by formally acknowledging something akin to Qualis Homes as part of the Qualis group of companies, providing high quality, energy efficient social housing at rents low income families can afford, and where needed, housing benefit paid out by the council is returned to the council. This would also have positive impacts on health, educational achievements, and the local economy, as people have more spending money and secure housing. Thank you.
Now, I think as it is Qualis, could Councillor Patel take that, or could Councillor Holy-Whitbread?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to jump in first, and then perhaps if Councillor Patel wants to follow with some more detail. What I would say, obviously, I'm not on the Qualis board, but I know that they will work within the Epping Forest District Council planning framework, which means delivering 40% affordable housing in line with the local plan. But what I would say, and I did speak about this earlier, is Epping Forest District Council is actually very proud of the the record we have on council house building. We're building first-class council homes throughout Epping Forest District for local people. You had to have lived in the district 7 years to be eligible. I am aware of the impact of right to buy on our housing stock, and it clearly is a challenge. But it's also an important right that people have to be able to have a stake in a home that they might not otherwise. So what I would say from a housing perspective is that this council continues to be dedicated to continuing our council house building programme, building energy efficient, affordable homes for the future for local people. And I know it's something that we'll continue. And I'll pass on to Councillor Aniket Patel to see if he's got any comments from the Qualis side, or indeed Sasha Jevons, who I believe is on the call tonight. Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, I think Councillor Whitbread really answered my part of the question, that affordable housing will be provided by Qualis as per the requirements of as per the planning requirements. I don't think there's anything further to add than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Councillor David Wixley.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Mine's a very quick and brief question, but it is once again to the portfolio holder for Housing and Community Services, Councillor Holy-Whitbread. So I had a busy night tonight, but yeah, my question is on the report on page 46. The fourth paragraph down is reference to the Housing News tenant newsletter. I've got a number of council tenants living in my ward, and I'd be quite interested in reading that report myself, or that newsletter. I think at one time I used to receive copies of the Housing News letter, but I haven't done for some time. But this looks a particularly interesting one and worth reading. So either I'd be happy if I could receive it individually, or the portfolio may consider attaching it to a bulletin. So that's my question, and I hope she can agree to my request.
Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sure everyone's bored of my voice this evening, but I'd said I'm happy to get that over to Councillor Wixley and see perhaps if we can get it into the bulletin. I know that I haven't actually seen it yet, and I've got an article in it, so I'd also be keen to see this edition. Thank you, Chairman.
Members, thank you very much. It's 8 o'clock, and we've given everybody an opportunity to have a question to the Cabinet. Thank you very much. As I said, I do have a hand, but it's only one question per member.
I was coming back.
I'm sorry. Item 10, motions. Jackie, do we have any motions, please?
Chairman, no motions.
Okay. Item 11, appointment of Qualis board members. pages 55 to 56. Councillor Chris Whitbread, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, first of all, can I thank the members of the interview panel who spent several evenings meeting and interviewing the potential board members, and the list is set out below. I believe what we saw was a good quality selection of board members, and of course delighted with our 2 district council suggestions as well, in Councillor Kaufman and Councillor Bassett. It puts Qualis on a good firm footing for the future, and it will be good to now move away from the interim board to the full group board, so we can really get motoring with the Qualis agenda.
Councillor Murray, you have indicated you would like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm only speaking because we're actually asked to endorse these recommendations, so it is being asked to make a decision. I'm going to abstain, Chairman, because on the basis of this report, I don't feel I know enough about some of the names on this list to know whether I can endorse the recommendations or not. I'm sure they're sound choices. I'm sure the interview panel has done a job of work, but I can't endorse people that I don't even know, so I will be abstaining. I do have 2 questions, though. One is, I would be interested in knowing how many councillors actually applied. Don't need to know who they were, but I would be interested in knowing how many councillors applied. I hasten to add, I wasn't one of them, obviously, and no reason why I would be. That's not my field of expertise. And secondly, I think it is a fair question. I would like to ask of the 2 council members a general principle. What's their view about a general principle? I realise it would have to apply in detail to actual situations, but if I'm being asked to endorse the council members, which I would be probably happy to endorse because I know them extremely well, I would like to know what their general view is. If other services are transferred to Qualis, would they, as a general proposition, feel that any new staff should be on similar terms and conditions with the TUPE staff? Obviously, TUPE staff have their terms and conditions maintained. Would they be generally supportive of the proposition that if someone was doing a similar type of job as a TUPE member of staff, but they were a new member of staff, that in very rough general terms, would they enjoy the same terms and conditions? So if they feel able to answer that, I would be happy to endorse them. But I can't endorse people I don't know apart from that.
Thank you. Councillor Whitbread first.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, what a strange approach. When we interview people and bring reports to this council for the appointment of people to boards or panels or any positions within the council, very few of us would have known them to start with. But we do have an experienced panel of people interviewing them. Some of the most senior people in the council cross-party, and therefore I'm quite surprised by that last comment. With regards to the rest of it, I think that's not really what we've been asked to decide upon this evening. We're not cross-questioning the people who applied. We're putting them up for endorsement. I don't see why they should have to answer Councillor Murray's questions this evening. I'm sure it will come up at a later cabinet meeting or council meeting. And for a matter of fact, there was 4 councillors who applied, and the position was advertised 4 councillors for anyone to apply and for anyone to be interviewed within the members' bulletin.
Well, it is actually means to no to the recommendations and not endorsement. So,
No, sorry, Chairman, the motion in front of me, unless it's changed at the top of page 55, number 1, to endorse. It doesn't say to no, it says to endorse, unless I've got a different agenda to everyone else.
Chairman, it is to endorse, and that's exactly the point I'm making.
so members, can we endorse the recommendations then in the attached report? I'm sorry, Councillor Heap.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I was one of the councillors who did apply, and I think they've chosen well. I think we should endorse the people they've chosen so far. That's it, actually. Yes, let's go for it.
Thank you. So, members, can we endorse the recommendations?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Disagree.
Okay, noted. Item 12, Qualis Financial Report, pages 57 to 90. Councillor Aniket Patel, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the first Qualis monitoring report brought to Council for consideration. It covers the first quarter of Qualis operation up to 31st July. In practice, this report to Council presents two separate Qualis board reports, the first covering quarter 1 and quarter 2 together, the second only covering quarter 3. All of these Qualis board reports have been reported to both Overview and Scrutiny and Cabinet, and members have had the opportunity to ask wide-ranging questions about Qualis's operations during these meetings. It should be highlighted that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a dramatic impact on all council activities, including the setup and initiation of the Qualis business plan. This has caused delay as necessarily the council's response to COVID-19 became our focus for a while. This could not have been foreseen when the plans were agreed. Taking this into account, the impact of COVID-19, I can report that Qualis's performance is where we would have expected to be at this moment. It should also be noted the impact of COVID-19 will delay the delivery of the financial targets in the Qualis business plan. This will be another hidden cost of the pandemic to the council. For the first 3 quarters, Qualis has been focused on setup and not trading. And given the council's focus elsewhere, the setup phase has taken longer than originally anticipated. I fully accept this to be the case because of the wider events. The Qualis board reports for quarter 1 and quarter 2 together and quarter 3 are attached as appendices. I would encourage members to focus on quarter 3 on page 77 of the agenda, as this is the most up to date. Within Qualis quarter 3 board report, the only key performance indicator flagged as amber is obtaining the loan finance from EFDC. I'm pleased to confirm that the first loans have now been agreed and paid. Housing maintenance activities have also been successfully transferred. These will both appear in the quarter 4 monitoring report. I'm aware that members have previously expressed interest in the way in which Qualis makes decisions and how the council can control and influence these. To better explain this, section 4 of the report sets out the governance arrangements that exist via the shareholder agreement. This gives the council considerable say in the activities of and the focus of Qualis. Finally, all members will know that that COVID-19 is having a huge financial impact on the council. Now more than ever, we need Qualis to be a success in order to smooth the cost of COVID-19 and to provide a new income stream. The continued delivery of valued council services will depend upon it. I ask members of the council to note the report.
We've got Councillor Murray. Would you like to? You have your hand up. Would you like to speak, or is it from previous one?
No, I put it up as soon as we moved to this item, Chairman. So if I could, I'm going to spare members my general views about Qualis because I've put on record my general underlying concerns. But we are where we are, and I'm always a realist. I accept situations where as they are. So we are where we are. So there's no point in going over old ground. My comments are going to revolve around page 88 of the report. And first of all, I want to be very complimentary about Qualis. I think the level of engagement, the level of consultation around the Epping sites have been very good. I've had quite a few reports from residents from Epping about the level of involvement. And I will make the comment that I think EFDC have got something to learn from that. I contrast the level of consultation that have gone on around the Epping issues compared to what happened as regards the Loughton Sports Centre, the development of the retail park, where consultation was absolutely minimum.
and the purchase of Centric Parade, where even Loughton councillors weren't consulted or informed about their opinions. So well done, Qualis. Excellent set of consultations, and you appear to have actually listened as well, which is something that EFDC didn't do as regards our leisure centre. So repeat again, well done, Qualis. And I think there's something that we can learn as a council in terms of that kind of consultation. And it would really be nice to see it in Loughton for once. And obviously we got the opportunity with Pearls Lane. I make no apologies for talking about this point again. I did it at ONS and I did it at Cabinet. But as a trade unionist, I feel really strongly on this. And my experience is the direction of travel is always down. Certainly the manual workers that I work with at school and I've had experience with in my ward, the direction of travel is always down. It might be different in the more commercial sector and the more professional type jobs. And I'm talking about new staff after services have been services have been transferred. I understand that existing staff will have their pay and conditions and so on protected. But as I said, I'm really concerned about what then happens to staff that are then appointed. And I take the point that Councillor Phillips made at Cabinet. I always listen carefully to his wise words. And in his experience and in his type of field, that may well be right. The new staff often have better pay and conditions and different pay and conditions, and they often in an upward direction. But I have to say my experience across many fields in more manual type jobs is that the direction is always down. Conditions are always worse and you have a two-tier workforce. So I'm just saying that I am very, very concerned about that and I hope Qualis don't go down that road. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Patel, would you like to say anything or shall I continue? I have a couple of other people that would like to speak.
Chairman, I did respond to Councillor Murray's question at Cabinet. Just to say really that obviously when recruiting new staff, Qualis staff will come on board potentially on more favourable structure or a less favourable structure. That can only be determined at that time. It's the individual's choice to come on board as per the terms of their contract. But what I will say, it's important that we recruit the right skills to enable Qualis to achieve the targets that have been set out for them.
Thank you.
So we do need to pay at least market rate, if not more, to attract the right quality staff.
Thank you. Councillor John Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, a lot of the content we dealt with at other meetings, but given there's quite a long delay between the Q2 report, the end of Q2 and this report being available, given we're now a working day away from the end of Q4, and given the amount of stuff that's happened in Q4, will the Q4 report be coming to November's Cabinet meeting? And if not, can it come to the Cabinet as soon as possible thereafter?
Thank you, Councillor Whitehouse. I think it's going to be a push to get it to the Cabinet meeting for November. I can potentially provide an update, a verbal update at the meeting. However, it's more likely that the report will come to December Cabinet.
Councillor John Philip.
You're on mute, John.
Just in highlighting Councillor Whitehouse's question, clearly before a Q4 report can come to Cabinet, it has to go. We have to reach the end of quarter. The reporting on that end of quarter has to be done by Qualis's financial people. It then has to come to the Qualis board for approval before it can be passed on to the shareholder. I think all of those will mean that it's impossible to get that to a place before the agenda deadline for November cabinet. I would agree with Councillor Patel, December is much more likely, simply because you've got to make sure, particularly at the end of a fourth quarter, that your accountancy statements are right, and I would rather have them right than rushed.
Thank you. Councillor Simon Heap.
Thank you, Chairman. We all hope that Qualis is going to be a huge success, obviously, but we do need it to take a shareholder view rather than a shareholder view. So Councillor Phillips, I think, is wrong in his last statements that whatever it's going to do is going to be reported back to the shareholder, because that is us. So we can decide what should happen, and we need to take a longer view. So maybe even not doing quarterly reports, maybe we need to do annual reports, because we need to take a much, much longer strategy about the whole thing. And we also need to make sure that Qualis is a very good employer, harking back to Councillor Murray's point. So it's not a case of, there shouldn't be any differential between new people joining and old people being two-peed over. It should just be, we should offer the best terms possible, because that is the essence of capitalism, is to improve one's condition.
Councillor Patel, would you like to add to
Just to say, really, that the government's framework and the shareholder agreement was agreed by Cabinet in February earlier this year, and the business plans for Qualis is likely to be reported to Cabinet in December.
Thank you.
At which point then Councillor Heap's comments can be discussed regarding regarding the reporting from it.
Right. Councillor Chris Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm referring to the table, the second table on page 66, on the key performance indicators. There's mention there in a phrase I don't quite understand about the Pearls Lane site, which incidentally is not in Debden, it's in Loughton. But can the portfolio holder confirm that what comes forward will be on the basis of the already consented plan, which has now been allowed to lapse? And if there are variations from that consented plan, will he undertake to have a consultation by Qualis on the same basis as they have consulted quite well, I think, on the Epping side?
Thank you, Councillor Pond. I believe that the planning permissions I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. I believe that planning permissions were actually extended for a couple of years because of the COVID pandemic. So I need to clarify actually whether we've been given that extension or not. But if not, obviously we would have to go back through the planning process, and we will embark on a proper consultation with residents and ward members.
Well, we definitely, members, we have discussed this. Can we agree on any actions required on the Qualis quarterly monitoring report?
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. We continue. We have a supplementary council agenda, 12A, and that is overview and scrutiny committee. Could I ask Councillor Sartin to take us?
Thank you, Chairman. What you've got before you is the report from the July to October 2020 Overview and Scrutiny Progress Report. It's actually focusing on the meeting that was held on the 15th of October. And as members will see, the report takes you through the various items that came up at that meeting. I would just comment that I think members took some comfort in the presentation that we had from Mental Health Services, the fact that they had been able to cope with the increased demands during the current COVID COVID-19 period, and that they feel comfortable that they continue doing that. And I would just also draw members' attention to item 8 on the agenda, which is the final sentence there refers to officers asking members for any potential lines of inquiry they might have for the meeting in November, where we will have at least one person coming to present something on the UK Innovation Corridor. I think there is some confusion around the fact that UK Innovation Corridor is the new name for what was originally the London Stansted Cambridge corridor. And part of the exercise I think we'll be looking at is to learn more about the current setup of this organisation and what it is doing within our district. But equally, if members do have any questions, thoughts that they might want to draw out from this, that it would be useful to pass on to the officer coming from the UK Innovation. I believe it's actually consortium rather than corridor. Then if they could let Mr. Woodhall know that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Murray, you indicated you wanted to speak.
Yes, please, Chairman. A number of points. Can I thank the Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny for that excellent report? And it gives me an opportunity again to put on the record what an excellent job I think she does as Chair. So thank you, Councillor Sartin. I would endorse your views about the presentation as regards mental health, adult mental health. It was very reassuring. Item paragraph 4, you talk about the accommodation strategy in your report, and I will just highlight again to other members that I am a little bit concerned that the community hub isn't going to be quite the community hub we thought. We know of the library and we know of voluntary services, but apart from that, I know there's ongoing conversations, but I have to say I envisaged something a little bit more all-embracing than that. But let's hope that develops. And then my 2 final remarks are really directed to the leadership of the council. One positive and one not quite so positive. In paragraph 7, the committee, the scrutiny panel, outlined its feelings about the first wave. And I want to put on record again my thanks to the political leadership of Councillor Whitbread as leader of council during the first wave of the COVID episode. I think his leadership has been really good during that first wave. Spoke to the community and for the community, and I thank you for that, Councillor Chris Whitbread. Having then said that, I'm going to say something that I wasn't expecting to say until it came up in questions. I was very disappointed, Councillor Chris Whitbread, to hear you refer to us as the opposition. I've never seen myself as the opposition. Certainly, I'm not a member of the majority group. I'm not a paid-up member of the Conservative Party. Never have been. Probably never likely to be. But I don't see myself as the opposition. I'm one person. I have the label as independent. The other groups can speak for themselves. We might not be deemed fit to hold posts of responsibility in the council. We might not even be deemed fit to hold civic posts within the council, which can be a bit irksome. But I've never seen myself as the opposition. I've seen myself as someone who wants to just ask sometimes difficult and sometimes challenging questions. It's not my job just to go along with what the majority group wants. But I'm actually quite angry to be described as the opposition. Critical friend would be a better phrase from where I'm sitting. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Murray, I'm sure that a critical friend will be definitely the name that suits you. Thank you. We'll go further to our agenda. Item 13, Audit and Governance Committee, pages 91 to 92. Could I ask Councillor Ian Hadley to actually take us through this, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'll be short and to the point. Item 13. On the 28th of September, the review of the Treasury Management Investment Limits was presented to the AG Committee. Currently, the investment limits are 3 million for single institutions and a total of 10 million for all money market funds. Due to a breach of these limits this year involving the purchase of Centric Parade and going over the limit, the Treasury were advised to A, increase the 3 million limit for a single institution to 4 million, and B, increase the 10 million limit for an MMF, money market fund, to 10 million for each money market fund. Now, the ANG Committee were happy with the increase to both limits, but had reservations regarding the lack of a limit on the money market funds that could be invested in, thereby allowing no total limit on investments. As a result, the ANG Committee suggested that a limit of 3 money market funds be adopted, with any breach of this to be discussed with the ANG Committee prior to it happening. This was not intended to be a financial restriction, but just a method of flagging up a possible risk situation. However, since the ANG meeting, it's been transpired that suggestion B is contrary to our constitution and cannot be put forward for approval at this meeting. As such, I will now pass over to the next speaker, who will add more detail regarding the constitution and an amendment to the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor John Philly.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Hadley. I understand exactly where the Audit and Governance Committee is coming from on this and what they're trying to achieve. However, it's very clear from our Constitution that the Audit and Governance Committee's role is independent assurance of the adequacy of risk management and review of our control frameworks. In terms of what the Audit Committee is there to do, is there to review, to note and monitor, and as such it's not a decision-making body. We could ask ourselves if Audit and Governance review the suggestion of an additional money market fund and decide that should be the case, and there is then an issue, who could possibly scrutinise that since Audit and Governance had already made a decision? Or the flip side of it, if they were against the money market fund and there was an issue, who could then scrutinise that? Our Treasury Management Advisors are very clear in paragraph 5 around where we should be putting money that we want to keep hold of. I should say right here and now that particularly given the current situation, we do not expect to carry significant amounts of money. But if we do have to, for whatever reason, then we should put it where it is most secure. I do certainly recognise Audit and Governance have a role in ensuring compliance, and as such, the expansion over 3 funds should be made in conjunction with our responsible Section 151 officer. And we would report this expansion to the Chair of Audit and Governance at the time and provide a detailed explanation to Audit and Governance in a timely manner. And as such, I'm suggesting we change recommendation B to be money market funds be increased to 10 million per fund with a normal limit of 3 funds to be invested in at any one time. If operational requirements need further use of money market funds, the Section 151 officer, in consultation with the Finance and Economic Development portfolio holder, can authorise further use of these funds, provided that this is reported to the Chair of Audit and Governance and a report is presented to the Audit and Governance Committee at the latest by the next committee meeting. So what I'm trying to do there is a timely interaction with the Audit and Governance Committee through the Chairman and make sure that a report comes at the very latest to the next version of the next meeting of Audit and Governance. If we can do so sooner, then we will. It may well be that an investment in money market funds will have been made and will have been brought back by the time that the next Audit and Governance Committee comes through. This way I'm trying to preserve what's enshrined in our Constitution to keep the Audit and Governance Committee's review role clear and separate from that of decision making and scrutiny. As is called out in the Constitution, portfolio holders cannot be members of Audit and Governance, and also members of Scrutiny Committee scrutinise finance can also not be members of Audit and Governance. So preserving the strict separation that's engendered in our Constitution. Hopefully the Chairman of Audit and Governance is happy to second this, and hopefully members of Council will agree. Thank you, Chairman.
So, Councillor Hadley, are you a seconder then?
Yes, I can live with that. I'm happy with it, and I would like to second it.
Would you like to say anything on this?
No, I don't think so. I think it covers our concerns and puts us in a better position. I think some people might have be wary of there being no top limit, but I think that's covered now. So I'm quite happy to second this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Heap.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think Councillor Phillips makes a very good point that makes a very good point that we can't be the jailer and the judge at that moment. So I do accept that recommendation. However, we do need to guard against future problems. I'm sure when Baring Bank was set up in 1762 or whatever it was, they didn't envisage that somebody would go AWOL and just start investing, which did happen and led to their collapse. So that's what we're trying to prevent. So it may be that not these officers, not this particular cabinet committee, but in the future, we need to protect against somebody over-investing in something to cover a problem. And that's really what the committee was against at that moment. I'll go along with this, but I think there is a possibility that maybe if it happens, it doesn't have to be reported to the next committee. Maybe it could just be emailed immediately.
Chairman, if I can come in on that, I hear what Councillor Heap says, and I'm grateful for his support. Let's see how this works. We are committing with this resolution to get to the Chair of Audit and Governance. If he chooses then to pass it out to other members of Audit and Governance, that's fine. But I do want, if we are stepping over that number of 3, we should be in a position to give a good reason to Audit and Governance why we've gone beyond that 3. I have spoken to the Section 151 officer about this. He's comfortable with this approach. I think we're putting enough protection in there that neither Mr. Small or myself will be sticking 10 million into a 4th money market fund in the near future and running off with it.
Thank you.
Councillor Michael Owen.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to raise the point actually on this. People are expecting UK interest rates to go negative, and in fact, government bonds are already negative. So I think we do need to be quite flexible on our investments, because money market funds may very well go negative in the next few months. So I think we should have a proper review of the Treasury policy in fairness.
Chairman, if I could come back on that. We do regularly review our Treasury management policy. Clearly, the aim with money that we have is to make sure that we are not losing it and we're making best use of it. As I said, as I was speaking, I don't expect us to be sitting in a position where we've more than 30 million in money markets. But there have been situations, and as was referred to at the Audit and Governance Committee, a situation where we were looking to purchase Centric Parade, and that was delayed slightly. So we had money that had to be kept for a period of time before we could complete that purchase. I want to make sure that when we've got that, we put it somewhere that is the most secure as possible. And the advice at this stage is that money market funds are the best option for that. If, as things progress through negative rates, etc., we find that there is a better route, and we're advised by our Treasury management consultants that there are things that we should be doing differently, we will look to revise the Treasury management strategy and bring that back for review and approval.
Councillor Owen, would you like to come back, or you are happy with that?
No, I'm happy with that. I'm not sure I agree with the Treasury advisors, to be honest, though. But that's a different point.
Councillor David Wixley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm not an expert on finance, beyond being pretty good with a piggy bank. But what I do know is that, and I get a bit annoyed about this, but we're using the same shorthand again in the report. And I do know that we purchased more than just Centric Parade in Loughton High Road. We also purchased 202 to 226 in the High Road. But every time we get these reports, it just refers to Centric Parade. I think we should, every time, put exactly what we have purchased in these reports.
Chairman, if I can come back on that. I'm surprised to hear Councillor Wixley encouraging us to make the reports longer and therefore have to cut down more trees to produce more paper, because Councillor Wixley, I know, is very fond of trees. There is nothing wrong with using shorthands when they're completely normally understood. To put out a complete list of everything in every report, I do not believe is a good use of our time.
Councillor Wixley.
Well, I quite enjoyed Councillor Phillips' joke, but I don't think it's a question of saving paper or saving ink, for that matter. I think this is all in the public domain, and we should, in the interest of accuracy and information to the public, put down the correct information. So I think that overrides, in this case, saving a branch of a tree or something.
Okay, thank you.
Quite agree.
So, members, we have to vote on agreeing to this amendment. No, sorry. Jackie, will you actually take the vote, please?
I will, Chairman. I'm going to call everybody's name out individually. If you just say for, against or abstain. Councillor Avey.
For.
Councillor Baldwin.
For.
Councillor Bassett.
For.
Councillor Beals.
For.
Councillor Bolton.
For.
Councillor Brady.
For.
Councillor Burrows.
For.
Councillor Durrell.
For.
Councillor Hadley.
For.
Councillor Heath.
4, but my nail's digging into the table.
Councillor Heather. Councillor Heather.
Brady.
No, Heather.
Heather. Has he gone?
He's left the meeting.
Right, okay. Councillor Bob Jennings.
Abstain.
Councillor Jones.
For.
Councillor Helen Kane.
For.
Councillor Sam Kane.
For.
Councillor Kaufman.
For.
Councillor Kesker.
For.
Councillor Lee.
I have to abstain because the sound is so poor. I've hardly heard any of the meeting. Sorry.
Okay. Councillor Lippert. Is Councillor Lippert still at the meeting? No.
For.
For, yeah. Councillor Lyon.
For.
Councillor McCready.
For.
Councillor McIver.
For the same reason as Councillor Lee, I'm going to have to abstain.
Okay. Councillor McEwen.
For.
Councillor Mead.
For.
Councillor Morgan.
For.
Councillor Murray.
Abstain.
Councillor Neville.
For.
Councillor Owen.
For.
Councillor Patel.
4.
Councillor Phillip,
Councillor Vogt, 4.
Councillor Plummer.
Thanks. I'll have to abstain. I'm not really confident either way. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Chris Pond. Councillor Caroline Pond.
4.
Councillor Rackham.
4.
Councillor Rolfe.
4.
Councillor Sandler.
4.
Councillor Sartin.
4.
Councillor Cher-Bernier. 'Councillor Cher-Bernier. Adrian, has she gone?
Yes, here.
4.
4. Councillor Stalker.
4.
Councillor Stocker.
4.
Councillor Sunger.
4.
Councillor Vaz.
4.
Councillor Chris Whitbread.
4.
Councillor Holly Whitbread.
4.
Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
4.
Councillor John Whitehouse.
4.
And Councillor Wixley.
4.
Right, you just have to give me a minute while I count.
Can I just ask, Chairman, was the wording of the motion circulated? Because that was the reason why I abstained. Was it previously circulated and I missed it?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, well, that's why I was abstaining then, because I couldn't remember what the motion was. It was so long.
Sorry, Councillor Murray, I should have volunteered to reread it before we voted.
Right. We have. Oh, I've only written down 41 for and 5 abstaining, none against.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. So this amendment has been passed. So now we have to take the report again, and any comments on the whole report with the amended recommendations.
I'm just getting a different colour pen.
Chairman, can't we just agree this by consent? The vote on the amendment was fairly decisive.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
If members agree, fair enough. Thank you. Thank you. So we actually agree on the recommendations and the amendment as amended. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So we go to item 14, joint arrangements, external organizations. I have my Royal Gunpowder Mills report attached, where you can see that the good news about the successful bid. And if anybody would like to ask me any questions, I would be more than pleased to answer. Thank you.
Chairman, would you agree that it's axiomatic to try to get this site open to the public as soon as possible, both to secure its future and because of the scientific and historical interest of the site?
Yes, and the money has actually, some of the money is for that reason, and they are working very, very hard towards that. Yes, I am in constant conversation with the chairman, and that is their intention. The only thing I have to say is that in order for that money to be released, the first they have to put the projects forward, and that is why there will be some delay. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It still sounds odd, but I suspect you can't answer this, but if you can, have you heard anything further about any potential future applications from PGL to take over part of the site and turn it into a holiday camp. I suspect you can't, or you haven't got anything to say, but if you have, could you please? Thank you.
Well, the only thing I can say is that I have requested by our planning officers if there has been any applications, and there hasn't been any applications to date. So no pre-applications or anything like that. Okay, that should actually answer your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Any other reports, Councillor Sartin?
Thank you, Chairman. It wasn't to do a report, it was to ask if Councillor Brian Rolfe, as our representative on Voluntary Action Epping Forest, could bring a report to the next council meeting on the various areas of work of the Voluntary Action Epping Forest that has been carried out in the district during the COVID period. Obviously, they must have been involved in quite a lot of areas through the voluntary sector, and I think it might be useful for us as a council to hear some of the things that they have been involved in. Thank you.
I'm pleased that hopefully we'll hear from Brian Grove.
Yeah, sorry, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'll do my best, but I would point out there haven't been any meetings, certainly that I've been invited to attend, Zoom or otherwise, but I will make inquiries and report back one way or the other next time.
Thank you. Councillor Murray?
Yes, Chairman, I just thought this point might be useful. I assumed it went to all members, but during the over the last 3 or 4 months, I don't know how often they are, but I get quite regular emails from Voluntary Action Epping Forest outlining what they're doing. I think they're probably 3 weekly, 4 weekly, and I just assumed they went to all members. And I see Councillor Neville is nodding, so I can't report, and it's not my position to report, but I think members are getting quite regular emails from them about what they're doing.
I think there is an AGM actually very soon, so hopefully we can have a report after that. Councillor Sartin.
Yes, Chairman. Yes, as Councillor Murray said, we do as members all get this update. I just thought it might be useful to just get another feel that is brought to the whole council, and also by bringing it to the council, it gives it the wider audience of any other members of the public or reporters listening in who might wish to pass on that information to a wider audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Chairman, could I ask for a report on CARE, the Care and Repair in Epping Forest? I served on that for many years, and I know councillors are appointed to it, but I have no idea what's happening with it, so it'd be interesting to have a report from the councillors who are on it. Thank you.
Okay, noted. Okay, thank you very much. Item 15, exclusion of public and press. In that case, we actually thank you very much, and we close the meeting today at almost 10 to 9. Thank you very much, members.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good night,
Jackie.
everyone.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, that's okay.